My name is Gary Zielinski, and we are interviewing Polka Hall of Famer Richie Gomulka. He was inducted into the Polka Hall of Fame in 2010, and we're going to ask him some questions that he can help enlighten some of his past history on him being in the polka field. Hello, Rich.
Hello, Gary. Nice to be with you and everybody out there.
Got a few questions we want to ask you. So here we go. We're going to start with some polka questions. Was there anyone in your family who was a musician or played an instrument?
Yes, well, my dad played a violin. My mom studied it, I believe it was an alto sax. And my dad's father, my grandfather, played a violin. Now, they didn't play professionally, but they knew how to play those instruments.
Okay. When did you start your band?
Well, I was about 13 years old. That was back in 1955, and a few of the fellas from the old neighborhood and myself, we talked about polka music and stuff, and we started a polka band. And somehow we got the title of the Chicago's youngest polka band, and the name of our band was the Lucky Boys.
Okay. Who inspired you in polka music?
I don't know if you'd say I inspired myself or what, because since I was just as far back as I remember, I like polka music. I got to love polka music, and anywhere I'd go, whether it be to a wedding or some doing where there was live polka music, I was the first one in front of the stage or bandstand to hear what the band's going to sound like. And I just, as I was growing older, I fell in love with it.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Next question is, what was the name of your first recording?
My first recording was a single, and I liked the tune. I recorded it in the late time of 1968. It was around Thanksgiving time. And the name of the tune was The Dark Forest Polka. And that was an old traditional tune recorded by a musician before my time. His name was Franek Dukla.
Okay. Do you remember the original band members in your band?
In the band, are you speaking of the first band?
Yes,
the Lucky Boys. Oh, yes. So we were started out by a gentleman by the name of Lou Jadlowski Sr., and he's passed away since then. I've always had a lot of respect for him, and we got along real good together. And his son, Lou Jadlowski Jr., was a member of the band late, and also the late Jerry Gendris played clarinet and sax. He was a member of the band, and the late Fred Hootie was a member of the band, and myself, I was the only surviving member now with the Lucky Boys band. And I would just like to add that when we were playing, we were just young kids at the time. We used as a novelty when the crowd got going and stuff. We brought my brother Lenny Gomulka on the bandstand. This is before my brother played any instrument. He was pretty dynamite on the drums. He was about 5 or 6 years old, so we'd get him up there for a little bit of an attraction. And he always went over good with people and stuff like that. And I think he made himself a little bit of money from tips and stuff like that. But he played the job with us as a novelty. And Lou Jadlowski at that time was studying trumpet, and he played trumpet. And we had one good time. And that was years ago. And naturally, that was our start and stuff.
What was your favorite areas or places to play?
Well, I liked it any place. Naturally, I was mostly from the Chicagoland area. I did a little traveling, a little bit out of town here and there and stuff, but it was mostly local in the Chicagoland area. And I was mostly what you might call a north side musician. I played the south side, the southwest side, the east side, but I would say about 70 to 75% of my career in music was on the north side of Chicago. I was always inspired by north side musicians, and I always felt like they were the best in the business. And although I liked musicians, I had admiration for all the musicians, wherever they were and stuff. And I just respected them. I learned a lot from them, and that's why I always say I didn't have just one mentor. I had a few of them.
Awesome. Who in your band played with you the longest?
The longest musician who worked together with me, although we worked a lot of us together off and on, but the latest musician through my time with polka bands, I played with various polka bands. Greatest musicians that I worked with was the late Casey Hummel. Casey and I, we were like brothers. We played polka music, which Casey knew what I liked, and he played that for me. I knew what he was going to do, and we just made a team. And if you remember Judy Stringhill and Verna Malek out there, and they hired me to come out once to Pennsylvania. Judy paid me a big compliment when Casey and I were out there, and she said, "You and Casey Hummel together, you guys are real, true honky dino musicians and stuff." And that's what kind of music that I've always admired. Although I like a lot of polka music, and that was my favorite, though I referred to it. And I picked that slogan up, if you will, from the north side of Chicago from those musicians. It's honky dino music, and that's the old-fashioned and Chicago style.
What were some of your favorite tunes you played or recorded?
Gary, to tell you the truth, I like them all. If people like them all, I love them even more because they accepted it, and I want to do more of them for them. Although there are some that, if I didn't care for, we just didn't record them. But I recorded with an album entitled "Here's Richie Gomulka," and if you want me to mention those musicians, I will. That's on drums. I was on drums, and I was doing vocals. And I had my brother Lenny on trumpet, Wally Maduja on clarinet and sax, Casey Hummel on concertina, Bud Byer on accordion, fantastic musician. And of course, we had a gentleman by the name of Chucky Filimonovich, I think the name is, and Beanie Swabiak, who played with the Ampalers. She also recorded with us. And on bass, Joey Dudek, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that's over 40 years ago.
What was your favorite song on that album?
Like I told you, I like them all.
Okay. How about let's see. The next one is, do you have any advice to new musicians starting in polka music?
Well, I'm nobody to give anybody any advice because I'm old-fashioned, and naturally I like the old-fashioned style of polka music. However, my brother Lenny, well, I'm not the musician my brother is. My brother's an accomplished musician, and I'm not. I'm not a top-notch musician, and I'm after a teacher discouraged me. He says to me, "You want to play like Joe Yarosh or like Eddie Zima or like Little Wally or some of those guys?" I says, "Oh, yeah, I think they're good." He says, "Well, if you're going to play like that or you want to play like that, you're not going to be a good musician." Well, that drew tears to my eyes, and I didn't say a word. And he wanted to continue with the music lessons. And I says, "I really don't feel like it." I said, "Can we put it off for the next time?" And he says, "Oh, sure, okay." So on the way home, my dear mother, she looked at me and she says, "Why are you crying to yourself?" I says, "Mom, I don't like what he told me." I said, "That was an insult." I says, "To me, Eddie Zima, Little Wally, Joe Yarosh," I says, "plus a lot of those guys." I said, "They're good musicians." I said, "As far as I'm concerned, I want to be like that. And if they can learn to play by ear, I'm going to try to do that too." So I quit the accordion, and within about 6 months, I was listening to my Polish polka records, and I was playing the accordion, but I couldn't play with keys they were playing in. So I listened to the song, and I'd play it in the key that I learned myself to play in, and that was the key of C. From there on, all my musicians, anything that anybody wanted to hear, they'd say, "Can you play that one, Rich?" I'd say, "Yeah, just follow me in the key of C." And C, and I'm thankful to the dear Lord that people liked it, and the music was good to them, and naturally we enjoyed that too. And I'd like to say one thing too, if I may. Everything I wanted to be in polka music, my brother Lenny Gomulka is, and I'm proud of that. And I'm thankful to the dear Lord for that. And I thought to myself, well, if I don't make it, at least my brother's going to make it, and I'll feel good about that. Because when the IPA started, that was, I believe, in 1968 or 69, Oh, I just, because of Mr. Leon Kazicki late at the time, started and we talked, and I've always had a lot of respect and admiration for Leon. And he told me what his ideas were and stuff. I said, oh, great. I said, it'll give a lot of musicians a lot of encouragement, and it'll give them inspiration, and these guys will get into this so-called Hall of Fame. I says, I think it's a nice thing. And as time was going on, I kind of realized to myself, although I love polka music that much, I'll never make it into that. So I might as well just forget about it and do what I'm doing and be glad for the other guys. And then as years went by, my brother got into the Polka Music Hall of Fame. I was thankful for that. And then there's a little story because I believe it was on a Friday evening, my telephone rang. My wife was still either shopping or wherever she was at work or something. And I know Leon Kazicki at the time, he took ill. And I was concerned about it. And when my phone rang, I picked up the phone and it was somebody from the International Polka Association. And it was Laura Betke. And she says to me, hi, Richie, this is Laura Betke. And the first thing I said is, hi, Laura, how are you? And she says, fine. I said, how's Leon? Is he all right? And she started laughing. She says, oh, yeah. She says, as a matter of fact, he told me that when I'm through talking to you, if you don't have his phone number, I should give it to you. He wants to talk to you. I says, do you know about what? She says, well, yeah. She says, let me head it off a little by congratulating you on your induction to the Polka Music Hall of Fame. And I says, Laura, are you trying to prank me or what? I don't mind taking a joke, and I've taken a lot of jokes. I said, but there's certain things in life that I take very serious, and polka music is one of them. And she's laughing up a storm. I says, tell me the truth, Laura. I says, is this a prank? She says, no, it's not. I'm congratulating you. She says, call Leon, and she says, he'll talk more with you about it. And I says, well, all right, I will. I says, but I'm not banking on this to be the truth. So she laughed. She says, if you want, call me back after you talk to Leon. So I says, all right, I will. So I got off the phone with her and I called Leon. And that's when I really started getting hot under the collar. I says, under the collar. I says, I'll be doggone. I says, not only Laura's pulling a prank on me, but they got Leon, or somebody got Leon to do the same thing. So Leon answers the phone. He says, hello. And I says, Leon? He says, yes. I says, Richie Gomulka, how are you feeling? He says, oh, hi, Rich. He says, oh, I'm doing all right. How about you? I says, all right. I says, Leon, the reason that I'm calling you is I just got a telephone call from Laura Betke. He says, oh, you did? And I says, yeah. I says, and she told me something. And then she told me that if I don't believe it, I should call you and you'll verify it. He says, she told you that? And I says, yeah. He says, well, what'd she tell you? And I says, well, I really want to know the truth. I says, like I say, I hope it's not a prank. I says, I'm asking you to verify it. I says, is that true that I'm being inducted into the Polka Music Hall of Fame? And for about maybe 10 seconds, I didn't hear nothing on the other side. I said, hello, Leon, are you there? And I heard laughing. And he says, yes, I'm here. He says, and it's true, you are. He says, I told her, you maybe won't, how did he say? You maybe won't believe it. Have him call me. He says, and I'll verify it. So, Richie, I'm congratulating you. He says, you're getting in this year into the Polka Music Hall of Fame, sponsored by the IPA. Well, I didn't know what to say, but I was like in a daze for about, should I say I'm still in a daze because I'm so happy? I mean, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me music-wise. I've had a lot of good things happen to me, and I've had a lot of obstacles. My life in polka music was always a struggle. There's times I was doing real well, and then there's times down on the bottom. And that's how my life was in music, up and down. And it seemed like any time I decided, I'm giving that up, it's a lot of nonsense. I'm never going to get into this Hall of Fame and stuff like that. I'm not a top-notch musician. And although I didn't want to give up, with prayers to our dear Blessed Mother and our Lord, I just had in mind that if the dear Lord wants me into it, keep me in it. If not, get me into something else. And some time went by, and I was already getting kind of disgusted with it. I was getting ready to give it up. And I got the telephone call from Laura. And then I called Leon Kazicki, and it was nice since. And like I say, it's still a struggle. I'm not going to say it's not, but good things happened. And there's a lot of musicians out there that I wish them the best of everything. I'd like to see a lot of them get into the Hall of Fame because it certainly is an honor. And I'm very thankful to the officers and all who put me into the induction of being in the International Polka Association Hall of Fame. I'll be forever grateful to that. It's a once in a lifetime affair. And you talk to me about mentors and stuff. Well, like I say, all musicians were good to me. The guys like he resides in Florida now. There's another good accordion player by the name of Teddy Kada. And in the Chicagoland area where I'm from, naturally, it was Eddie Zima and Little Wally. Those were my idols. Those were my mentors. I liked their music. I enjoyed them, and I was a fan of theirs. And believe it or not, I'm very thankful because as I got older, I got to work with those fellas, and I performed with the Little Wally band. That's where I met Casey Hummel at the Little Wally Carousel Club in Chicago, and then I also managed the Eddie Zima Orchestra when Eddie took ill, and he told me, he says, I want to keep the band going. We were talking about recording already and stuff, and sadness coming because the plans were going strong. And I come home from work one day, and there was a message for me to call Casey Hummel as soon as I possibly can. So I called him, and he says, I got some bad news. And I said, what's that? And he says, Eddie Zima just passed away. He said, I just got the word. Well, naturally, I felt very bad, and there went my plans. All the plans that we had as far as recording, maybe traveling, making a bigger name for ourselves and stuff, hoping that people would accept us. I felt real bad, and I knew that there was no future in that anymore. Eddie had passed away, may the dear Lord rest his soul in peace. And then I started jobbing on my own, and I got a call from Casey Zielinski. And I worked for, well, maybe another year or so with the Casey Zielinski Polka Band. And although one of my very dearest and closest friends, and I'll always say I had him as my mentor, and he still is. He's like an older brother to me because he's just a few years older than me, but a real nice guy. And my wife Sue Ellen, and his wife Bernie, and himself, we got to be close friends. And we go out to dances, we go out to dinners together, and they're very nice people. I'm very proud to be their friend, and my wife and I both love them, and they feel the same about us. And I'm speaking of my dear friend Joe Yarosh. And I'm just going to say it. My wish would be to hear or to see that he got into the Hall of Fame someday too. He was always local, but times were different, and he was, I'd say, a band ahead of his time. His orchestra was from the southwest side of Chicago. They were from the St. Bruno's Catholic Church area. And if I may, I do want to mention the members of that band. On accordion was Joe Yarosh. On drums, Richie Zolna, a very talented musician. And on clarinet and sax, there was Stash Bugno, passed away. And there was the late Richie Weiss, who passed away. And also, if I'm saying the word properly, his name I should say, is that of Tony Darmasol. And he was a clarinet and sax player too with the Joe Yarosh Orchestra. And then the drummers, there was Jerry Podraza, and Jerry had passed away and at a young age. And then there was Ray Barnes and Chester Baines. And there was, for studio recordings, naturally they used a piano and a bass and the backup and stuff like that. But I'll still call Joe Yarosh and his orchestra my dear friends, Fiery Zesty Joe Yarosh and his orchestra. In my opinion, they were the tops.
Okay.
And I enjoyed that.
We have a few more questions for you, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any wackiest moments or memorable band stories that you want to tell?
Well, yes, but there's a lot of them. I mean, if I have to pick one now, I really couldn't. There was a lot of them. I was in this business since I was 13 years old. And I'm 78 now, and I'm not a young kid anymore. And over the years, there were experiences, and there was a lot of laughter, jokes that we pulled off. Like I did, guys I traveled with and stuff like that. We always had a good time together. But if there was one particular time, I can match that with another one and stuff. So things like that there were happy times in my life as a musician.
What do you think sets you apart in polka music?
What set me apart from polka music?
No, what sets you apart in polka music? What sets you apart? What makes you different than anybody else?
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, for one thing, I have to say I like polka music. I love polka music, but I'll have to admit I am limited. I love polka music, the sounds of Johnny Bamba, Steve Adamczyk, uh, Eddie Wojcik and his brother Sil, all those bands. But I always preferred and liked what I refer to as a honky dino style of music. And again, that Little Wally, Joe Jarosz, and the bands like that. And I also worked for a time. I named them the Cadillac Sound of Polka Music. That was the Tones Orchestra from Chicago. And that was a dynamite group. When they went on their own, they were better than ever. They sounded very good. And they had their own style as far as that I noticed and stuff. That's about it with that. And again, I want to say that I was always proud and I love very dearly my brother Lenny Gomulka because he's an accomplished musician. And on almost all of my recordings, he's with me and stuff like that. And I can go on and on and on, but I don't know how much time we have left.
We got a couple more questions that we want to finish up with
Okay,
here.
all right, yeah.
How did you begin playing in polka music? I think you described that a little bit earlier about the accordion and the accordion
Yes.
teacher. Okay.
Well, when I went to drums, my parents took us to my sisters and my brother and myself. They took us to Caldwell Woods on Chicago's northwest side. That was around Milwaukee and Devon. And Little Wally happened to be playing there in a group called the Harmony Kings. Well, I took the like in every band that I heard that I thought was good. And as I grew older, I mentioned them to people and I kind of promoted them. And I felt like I was there to carry out their legacy, if I may say that. And I happened to see Little Wally playing drums. I knew he played a concertina, but I saw him playing the drums, and I admired that. And I says, "Ha, I know what I'm gonna do." So I told my mom and dad on the way back home. I says, I was noticing. I says, Little Wally playing those drums, Mom and Dad. They says, "Yeah, do you think he's good?" I said, "I think so." I says, "You know what?" I says, I'm really not gonna go playing the accordion. I says, I'm gonna go on drums. I says, I think I can do. I don't know if I'll be as good as what I think I can do what Little Wally does on those drums and stuff. Would you buy me a set of drums? So they looked at each other and they smiled. They said, "Depends on your behavior. If you're good to your sisters and your brother and take your brother under your wing, well, then maybe we will." I said, "You got it made." So they bought me those drums, and I went on the drums right away. I started playing, and ever since I was on drums until I had I had about 3 strokes in my life, and when I had that stroke, my right side became numb, and I couldn't keep rhythm at that time. But I'm hoping that I again will someday and stuff like that.
Okay. What was your greatest achievement in your polka career?
The greatest achievement in my polka career,
Yes.
but best, I have to say, was my induction into the Polka Music Hall of Fame by the IPA. Like I said, that was a once in a lifetime experience, and I'm very thankful from the bottom of my heart to everybody concerned. The IPA, that was my greatest experience. I just felt like I've done something. I made my mark, and these people who accepted me, I'm grateful to them.
Oh, good. I remember it well. I was there when you got your plaque, so
Yes, you were.
It was a very memorable experience for the whole entire family.
Well, I certainly hope so. And by the way, Gary, I want to throw this into you. I'm proud of all of you, all of my children, and you're one of my sons that I have to say it's kind of, I'm not going to say following in my footsteps, but you're taking after some of the things that I like to do in music, and I certainly wish you a lot of success in it. You're still, you got to push things first, but I would say you're already a professional because you do shows with me on the Polka Jammer,
Yep.
and along with our Bobby Piven, and I live the shows that I don't do with you. I listen and I like them, and I hope our people out there, I hope they accept it too, because we love what we're doing. And as Mom would say, yeah, you do that. She says, and it seems like that's all you got to live for someday is polka music, because other than that, I'm no longer in the cab business like I was. And well, I fool around a little bit with used cars, but not like I used to. I'm getting older now, and well, what can I say? You get older, and sometimes things change a little bit for you and stuff. But again, that's my life. I'm thankful for it, and I'm especially thankful to that lady who changed my life when I was down and out, and that's Mom, my wife Sue Ellen. I love her very much.
Okay. We got a couple more.
Okay.
Why did you pursue polka music as opposed to maybe other genres like rock and roll or jazz or blues or something like that?
Rock and roll, no. I was never a rock and roll family, just fan, I should say, but I never cared for it. Uh, Jazz and blues, so.
So why did you pursue polka music?
Well, coming from a Polish family, and my brother and I and my mom played a little bit. I had music in my blood already, I think, And I started out. We were young, and I remember my parents taking us to weddings and stuff. We'd get into the hall, and my eyes were right by the bandstand. Who's the band playing? I wonder what they sound like. And I'd run over to the bandstand or the stage at that time, and I'd be all eyes and looking. What are they going to sound like? When they started playing, I got what you might call the goosebumps. And I'd say to myself, I want to be like that when I grow up. They're good. And it happened just about with any band like that. And a lot of times people say, did you ever really organize your own band? I didn't. If I'd booked the work, I'd call the musicians and would go under my name, the Richie Gomulka Polka Band. But anytime I go anywhere, the musicians would call me up to sing, and they'd back me. And I got to like every band that I worked with. I appeared with the Ampalers. I appeared with the Casey Hummel band, and I can go on and on and on. I worked with those bands, and I was very pleased, very honored, and thankful that they called me up there and stuff. And I don't think we'd have enough time now to mention all of those bands. And I don't mean to be remiss and miss anybody, but 9 out of 10 of Chicago bands, I think I performed with them at one time or another.
Okay. And so this, I think you've answered this a little bit, but you might be able to elaborate a little bit more. Who was your polka hero growing up?
Okay, but let me say this. I forgot to mention, I did like and still do like ballroom music, dance music. And the band that I like, the fella's no more alive. He passed away, from what I understand. He resides in California, and that's the late Billy Vaughn.
Oh yeah.
I love his music, and every now and then on our polka programs, yourself, you do the shows with me. We play Billy Vaughn music, and we get requests for it. And there's people that call us and thank us very much for playing that style of music. They say it's different from polka music, but the music is very pleasing, and I'm thankful for that too. And what was your next question?
Who was your polka hero growing up?
Well, again, as I said, I've always feel and I always felt like I had a lot of mentors, but naturally, the guys I worked with at Ijima and Little Wally, they were. But one of my favorite mentors, and as I say, still is till this day, that's my dear buddy Joe Yarosh. I've always loved his music. To me, as I say, I figured he was, and to me, he was advanced. When bands were still playing the old-fashioned style, music on the order of Eddie Jima's, although he played an accordion. And when he played an accordion, you didn't need a concertina because he knew how to play that accordion just like a concertina. And his band was just good, and I admired it and still do. And like I say, Joe and I and our wives, we're still friends, and we're family people, and we're grateful to the dear Lord that we're like that. We have that kind of a relationship.
Okay. On behalf of the IPA, Rich, we'd like to thank you for this interview, and we enjoyed pursuing this interview with you and enjoyed all of your responses. So thank you very much.
Well, I thank you especially, Gary, and I thank, I will say, Mr. and Mrs. Kravish, and I believe Chrissy Kravish is the president of the IPA now, and everybody concerned. And like I say, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not a member, join the IPA, and you'll have some good times. And again, it was a pleasure being here. I hope I didn't overtalk myself, but once you get me going with polka music, sometimes I'm nonstop, you know. But anyway, I thank everybody. Dziękuję serdecznie. And on behalf of my family and myself, may God bless us all. I'm Richie Gomulka.